So yeah, so then like after 2 or 3 months, I was like, okay, I should probably get more responsible and like kind of deal with stuff. But I learned so much about myself from those emotions and what I latch onto or what I believe when I kind of surrender, just let go and realize that everything's going to be fine. Either I knew that like the worst case scenario wouldn't exist because it didn't exist in my consciousness. Like there was no form of like being evicted or being homeless because it was in my consciousness. So I just knew the worst thing would be is that like I would just have to pay some debt, like over some time. So then I just realized that after acquiring all this knowledge, and then I was like, okay, now it's time to, like you said, alchemize and create the change I want. So then I just learned that, it takes 3 weeks to change your reality and your net, and then it takes 3 days to change with constant focus to change your energy. So that's all I did for those 3 days and 3 weeks, and just took all this stuff very seriously and focused my energy into exactly what I wanted. And if any lack or any kind of thing I didn't want to experience came up, I just ignored it and just like was like, you don't exist, you're not
That's
real.
stepping out of the loop I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like that's stepping out of that program, saying, I don't have to repeat that cycle in that old paradigm.
Yeah. And through the whole process, like I learned so much. It's like there's a reason why we have thoughts. It's because your body wants someone to listen to them, and all those thoughts are just chemicals of your body. And a lot of people think those are like divine thoughts or divine messages, but it's like when you really, really stop and think about it, it's like they're only there to present itself because they want to be heard. And you don't have to hear them. Like, you don't, because then if you let all that go, which I learned through this process of all this lack and fear, it's like they're not real. They're
Mm-hmm.
just chemicals, because when you latch onto them, then you're just becoming an addict again. And I didn't want to feel fear or lack ever again. And now when it comes up, it's not that I know that it's bad or anything. It's just like now that I know that like compassion is an emotionless state where I can acknowledge it and be like, you feel this way because of this, and that's
How is this shift in you? Like I know that the compassion is what this really is taking you to, but just mention that a minute, like from this shift from that science, logical mind, ego to now being in this state of really surrender. Like you're in a state of surrender at that, which sets you up to experience the ultimate enlightenment that aligns you with this compassion that you would have never known otherwise. And it does take the pain to break that open to find you, through these experiences. But it sounds like you as a divine masculine are experiencing a lot of compassion, which is a very beautiful thing. So share just a little bit about your compassionate side and how that transition of ego to compassion.
yeah, definitely. I think for me the biggest thing to get me more compassionate was I've always been really compassionate to myself. When I was little, I was like depressed and was able to just be able to like understood what all this meant without the science that I have now. It's almost like looking back at myself, it's like I was so much more evolved in a way. Like,
Mhm.
and so now I just take that idea. It's like, remember when you were a child? How did you talk to yourself? And so whenever something like that comes up, I just think of that. And then I also,
Returning to the innocence is which is what I'm teaching people on my reprogram your childhood wounds, is learning how to go back to that childhood and how we like played out these stories and triggers and those wounds, and now we're attracting people and partners that are triggering those same wounds so we can bring light to them and heal them and get this counterbalance of one side of the lesson to the other side of the lesson to bring it full circle and then reprogram the pattern of how you take action going forward. So, which by the way, I'll also have a link of that information below as well. But this is something that we're talking about here with this. I'm seeing a lot of people, we've done so much past life clearing and clearing so much karma that we're into this life, and these programs are now running from these childhood wounds.
yeah, and that's a really, like, that brings up something that I think I feel interested in talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
there's so many things I've learned about our brain, and I actually like when I learned more about how our neurons work and this neural net that like creates your reality, I'm trying to learn how to like create a grand life and a grand reality. So that's why I kind of love learning about that. And I think that the thing that's really fascinating is that like there's experiences like for me, I shifted from being a artist, like a fashion photographer and filmmaker, to kind of now wanting to create empowering content. And to me,
Mm.
thinking about that change was really terrifying and everything. And but yet there's so many ways that you can still be egoic and do the spiritual work. Like,
Well, that's also shutting an ego. Like, not, it is shutting the ego. It's shutting your identity of the old you as we go through this ascension. I did that with as being a chiropractor. Like, and that's a painful process because people identify us with what we do, not so much even who we are. And then that becomes a side of us that we have to let go of. It can be very painful in itself.
well, I think it's only well, oh yeah, that brings up what I was going to say. It's like for me, like an example, like I was like just seeing it on the outside and what I've learned about your neural net. It's like I was shooting beautiful women, working with women all the time, and then now moving this work, I do the exact same thing. And we talk about things in fashion was more on the outside, and now this is more on the inside. So like really to me, the thing that was a big realization to me is that my neural net really didn't change. The mask changed.
Wow.
Like, so for
I
me,
just got
it's like,
chills.
yeah. And then now when I look at people, it's like we're all walking around with the neural net. And the physical is literally your mask. So to understand who you really are, your consciousness, is to know what programs you really run because the physical is illusion. Everything is illusion. So if you can see it objectively, like, so for me, I didn't change, the mask did. And so that was still being egoic. And I think the only thing that made me shift and change was is like, if you really, really want to do this work and be and create a really like grand limited life, you have to, for me, I had to let go of the self that I identified with completely. So for the past 6 months, I've been just kind of any opinion or any kind of thinking of lack or judgment I have anyone, I just know that's just me. Like, and I let it go. I like if my partner says something about someone and I disagree with her, I'm like I totally understand, even though a part of me is like, I fully disagree with you and I think you're wrong. Because being selfless is that. And so I just considered everything that I needed to say or wanted to do, I just held it back. So like I didn't make content for a while. I didn't share anything for a while because like in a way I was like, that's just being selfish. Like I wanted to be like, people, I'm changing, I'm doing this and that. And I'm like, maybe that's selfish. I just really took time to like ponder that and think about it. And now when I work with a lot of friends like doing this kind of work, we talk about that because I feel like we've shifted our role from this art, creative fashion world into this stuff. But I'm like, we really haven't changed though. Because now we're like, some people are just posting even more on social media and doing like stuff that they would have done in their other job, but it's just the same thing. So I'm like, if we really want to change though, you have to like stop all of that. Like, you have to put that all in the back and realize like if you want to be selfless and do all this stuff, then nothing you say matters. Like consider that for a little bit, and it's really
You got
painful.
me on the edge of my seat. I'm like going, whoo, whoo, whoo.
Yeah, like I really like was like thinking about that. I was like, you know what if, and I questioned every spiritual person that I met and asked and really had these difficult conversations with. It's like, what if no one channels? What if no one is this or this or that? What if it's just you, like a real part of you that our ego identifies and puts a name on, but it's like all of us? Or what if um, the people that or these so-called gurus and stuff like that really they what if they never practice any of this stuff and they're just trying to get rich and make money because their mask they might not look like that. I just didn't. I mean, I played a devil's advocate, but only to just be
What,
more.
but let me just say something. This is really coming to my mind. It's like, it's like, gotta come out. We are all those masks. And it's the evolution of each one of those masks. We're changing them along our evolution, and we're constantly evolving into all and changing faster than we can sometimes execute. And so, like, when you basically are talking about being able to, it was very deep and there was a lot of it. So I'm not sure I can like recreate what it was really coming through in this funnel because it was like this coming in. Um, but really, I think at the end of the day, what I'm saying here is that where I'm at is kind of what you're saying. So I've been going through what you're saying and changing out mask along the way. And some people, or even yourself could look at that as, well, what was wrong with that part or that mask? Or, was I wrong in that mask? Or, what caused the change to this mask? But I think it took every mask and every part of all of us to create this. And where I'm really like stepping into this really strongness, and I've said these words before, everybody talks about this, but I like own it now, that when you get to the day and all of this, we're given all these options and any reality can exist. It's like, which one do we choose? In twin flames, for instance, or partners, we could say the same thing. All these people are coming to us, we're mirroring them because it's who we are, for the experience, but then we get to change our reality based on who we want to be or what mask we want to wear. And at the end of the day, even when it comes to the twin flame concept, what I'm seeing is that we basically tipped a scale from, we failed the mission of 4 years ago of completing the twin flame kind of journey and having it completed. So now that we moved into the new program, those contracts are basically complete, but it's which timeline do we want to live in? And we were given the option. And if it didn't come into fruition, now what do you want to create from this option, or where you're at now and this space? And being very clear about that. And that's helping me see and teach so much more and more how we are the mirror image of God, but we are also the universe that I myself have went through one of these masks of being like, well, I'm going to hold off and let's see what the universe delivers. That in itself is giving our power away. And I'm seeing myself taking back that I don't need to wait for the universe to deliver anything to me, because what I choose in this reality is that I'm the creator, and it's my choice of which one of these realities I want to be in. What do I want? Where do I want to be?
Yeah, and that's yeah, and like you are the universe.
Yeah, you are the universe. Exactly. And I've known that, but like I really have lived it. Like you said, you have to experience, you have to live it, you have to go through it to own it. And for me personally, I'm like you, until I've owned it, I can't share it with confidence and conviction that it's truth, or at least my truth. Somebody else might be have a different truth and be in a different timeline and a different mask, and that truth and timeline is good for them. But it doesn't mean if it's your reality, you're going to be in the same, because what has happened is, and this universal oneness and this universal collection of all of these masks, all of them exist in the whole consciousness. And so it takes all of the shadows and the lights and everything in between to equal all of that. And we all need to be in a piece of it to create all of it.
Yeah, yeah. And I like to go off your note to kind of humor it
Yeah.
up a little bit. I even was like, I'm gonna go work at a spiritual shop and try to like help people and all this stuff. And like that's one of the darkest experiences I've ever went through. Like
Really?
most people at certain spiritual shops just want to make money. And they're using all this concept of crystals and like with no knowledge of anything, like besides what they called and what they look like. And there's a lot of like to be compassionate with everyone though, like everyone's on their own journey and everything. But that taught me so much about my limitations of thinking what spirituality means, like of like you said, like letting go and have the universe, whatever. That's like you said, it's giving your power away. If we are gods and source and all this, we create our own reality. Why wait back and let anyone determine what that is for us when
Especially twin flames out there, audience. This is the big key with people. What my goal is with twin flames is helping them release that bullseye of that one person being what they need to create this for themselves. Twin flame love is having it inside and experiencing that oneness within you, with with everyone. And when you get that, you have love and you're missing nothing, and you're moving off of shifting from what's missing with the focus, like we were talking about earlier. And the focus becomes more on what we desire, then what's missing?
Hmm.
Then
Yeah,
that triggers those emotions to attract, right? That we were talking about too.
yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think the greatest thing that I've learned with Casey and all this stuff is that she's been more evolved than I have been in a while, but now she's like we're kind of flipping in a way where I'm like when she was younger, she was much more into knowledge and reading, and now I'm like that. While in when I was younger, I was much more physical activity and playing sports and stuff, and now she's doing dance. Like, so we're flipping entirely what we were in the past to who we are now because we both want to create a different future. We are free and we feel free. So we've been kind of naturally just evolving this way, and then kind of shifting and not really paying attention to each other, more like we're just really focusing on ourselves and how we feel and at what we want to experience. And that's, I think, the key with everything. And I always bring it down to like sports because I feel like it's such a simple way to understand everything. It's like everyone needs a little coach, and sometimes it's really hard to hear what a coach might say to you, but in the end, they're pushing you to where you want to go because you want to be the best player, the best athlete, or the best anything. And I think we have to do that for ourselves, and we can't be easy on ourselves anymore. It's like,
Oh yeah, that's so true. Because I used to like be kind of really hard on. Actually, I was really hard on myself and very OCD and very structured. I had to find the other end of the pendulum to come into this place of flow and balance. And then I resisted, you know, coming back into the harmony of that because I'm like, and a lot of people do this because I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back to OCD. I don't want to go back to the structure. I want to stay in this flow. But we're in a place of 3D and having went up and gathered that knowledge and wisdom, bringing it in and through us and in our reality that then becomes into the consciousness of the collective, that things are coming into form now. And that's going to take some action. I've been saying that personally, I felt like I went up to Mars and been there for a few years and then dropped back on the planet. And I'm going through post-traumatic stress syndrome of how do I reintegrate into my world and my life now. I'm going through a lot of physical change and personal change of that because I'm not the same person I was when that journey started. And now my life isn't the same, and I literally feel this stress syndrome on my physical body, my physical being, of how to now basically de-armor all of the program, not just from our consciousness, not just from our thoughts and our actions, but our body retains the memory of that. And so my body's going through this physical transformation of learning how to de-armor itself so I can then find the balance in my actions now. So this is all about actions within us in our physical world. And the body is just a representation of the physical, you know?
mhm. Yeah, because, yeah, the funny thing that, um, well, it's not funny, I guess. It's just amusing to me when I think about my body because I just think it's like your body is literally like your brain physical. Like your arms, this is like each hemisphere, and your eyes are all these little parts of your brain. So, like, and the emotional pain that I went through with all this change is because when your neurons change when you're hooking up new programs of either abundance or like from lack to abundance or from love from hate or whatever, you experience emotional pain because you're reconnecting parts of your body that you've never felt or experienced before. And at first, it doesn't feel like anything. So it's like the unknown. It's scary. It's weird. But the emotional pain was a lot of people fear because it's like painful and everything. But of course, your body's going to be that way if you're creating an entire new reality that you've never experienced before. Like, it's just going to happen. So like seeing it from more of an objective point of view, it's like knowing that like you're gonna go through something and in the end you're gonna love it. Like it's it's the whole, turning into a butterfly from a caterpillar. It's like we're going from matter and wanting to dream a new dream. And so you have to kind of turn into mush again. And so you can fly. And a lot of people are too afraid to become and face that emotional pain. But all it is your brain re-chemicalizing it or your body re-chemicalizing itself to a new reality. And I think that's why the science and the um, the objective point of view is so important because it takes out every kind of fear that
Mm.
I feel like I would be worried about because it's not explained
And you
to me.
put on every mask in the process too, right?
Yeah, and the masks are only there because people live like we only use 10% of our brains because all that is filled with how to survive. I
Hmm.
have to do this to survive. I have to do that to survive. I have to, and that creates desire because we're all living in lack. But if you fill the rest of your brain up with knowledge and information that empowers you, then imagine what your reality is going to be. Because if right now our reality is a reflection of 1/10 of our potential, think about that.
Yeah.
So that's why I constantly think, what could I fill up my brain to create a bigger, grander, more powerful reality? And that's what I see in a lot of celebrities or even film directors. They're representative of your energy rising from your root to your crown, which creates not, I don't want to say like in a tech, intellectual being because I think that's still ego, but like someone with knowledge that they can then create a physical representation of a reality that they visually and I guess like with the power of their attainment of knowledge can create a film that can move people with stories and symbols and stuff like that. And so like what we were talking about how that screenwriter is thinking about the audience and stuff like that, but I think your audience is a reflection of you. And if you fill up your entire brain with an audience that you know is empowered and has an intention and wants to experience life, not just suffering, but like of abundance and like everything that life can give you, then you have to fill up your brain with that.
Mhm.
And I feel like if the people that I've experienced with limiting thoughts about what I want to create in a movie, I'm like, that's just your reality.
Well,
And
and that's a good point, that the taking responsibility in all of this is realizing that what shows up in your path, you created. Good or bad, doesn't matter what it is. It's what you created. And if you don't like what's showing up and you don't like how somebody is, say, treating you or the response to you, you have the ability to either take it or decide at this phase of the game that that doesn't fit into your reality anymore because that was the old you. And that might mean now separation with you and others, right?
yeah,
And
and sometimes I appreciate that. I'm like, I want people to be like, this is what you can do better. I think you're doing this or doing that because I know in the end that's unfolding me. Because before
mhm.
I used to like see it and then it made me like feel tight and constricted. And now I know what that feels like. I'm like, I want everyone to tell me not what they think, but like a reflection of where I'm still limited in my reality. Because I feel like when someone comes up to me and says like, "Oh, I think," that's why I love my relationship with Casey, my partner, because she watches stuff and she's like, "This could be better," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Wow, how could it be better?" And then she tells me, and I'm like, "God, you're right." And then I do it, and it's amazing. Like,
And I agree with you totally. The only thing I could see on my side that's the flip kind of coming through that is that when it comes down to being told that your truth is not your truth, that is to me the ultimate lesson of standing in your truth, of being, no, that doesn't, that's not my reality, and that's not where I'm at.
oh yeah, can you talk more about that? Because I'm trying to what do you mean exactly like about that?
So like, for instance, like the situation I mentioned that I had been through was with the person that was basically like basically pointing fingers for no, I mean, this kind of came out of another situation, but basically was pointing fingers towards myself from saying that I, my journey wasn't correct. I wasn't handling it correctly based on my choices of what I was doing. All right. But I was choosing to do something that was from once I'd already learned that side of the lesson that they were trying to tell me to do. I needed to do something on the opposite end. And I knew that was my truth because I already did it this way. But then to be not doing it the way they said I should, and then basically telling me that I am wrong for doing it the opposite way. And then also on the flip side of that, then telling me because I'm not doing it this way, degrading my character, my integrity, bashing me, not honoring my request of setting a boundary and saying I'm stepping out of this loop, and then being told you can't step out of the loop because we have a contract. You know what I'm saying? So all of that, my truth was that I'd never done any of that in my whole life, to step out of it, to claim my truth, to own my path, to my with my father my whole life it was about his religion, and that my truth didn't matter. I couldn't speak my voice, and so I shut down and I didn't know how to express. So this person was the trigger for me to say, this does not work in my reality, and this is my truth, and I stand firm in my truth because I believe in what I'm doing for me is right for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. So when, like with what you said, like when somebody comes to you and they're doing constructive criticism is one thing, but when they're asking you to compromise your truth is another.
Hmm. I see. Yeah, like
You get
it's
what I'm
like,
saying? So what we're talking about is what this whole thing is, the opposites of those polarities as well.
mhm.
And like, for instance, with some of what she was saying might be accurate, but it was in another timeline, another dimension, another choice, something maybe I already learned or don't need to learn or choose not to.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand that, but I welcome all of that. Like, I feel like the harder it is to hear something, even if it makes you not feel great, I feel like we're supposed to experience that. Like, I don't think I perceive everything now that whatever happens to you is for a reason, no matter how
Yeah.
shitty you
Oh, I
feel.
agree. I agree with that too. I
I
agree.
almost feel like if someone says something more painful, like,
Oh, yeah. And see, and that's
not,
the thing is through the process, I went through all of that.
yeah,
So I went through the pain, but it came down to like the action that needed to be taken that I had never taken.
there's like a, exactly, because that's a beautiful part of it. I feel like the pain.
The action became that I needed to set the boundary to say, I don't need you to do this to me anymore.
Mhm.
Do you understand what I'm saying in that?
No, that's why I think it's a beautiful exchange because
Oh, it is. And I still see the whole thing is beautiful. That's the cool part. I still see it as like it needed to happen. I see the beauty in it, and I actually love and respect her for that. But I feel like we each got what we needed on the opposite ends, making the full circle of the balance complete.
yeah, and I bet you that other person was saying more about themselves than you know, and
That's what I finally, when I, because I was trying not to point fingers, my one of my final reactions was is I invite you to look in the mirror of everything you've said, because these are really just your projections, and you're seeing I'm reflecting what you need to see, and that's what she wasn't seeing.
yeah. And I think that's why it's so important that we attain more knowledge because now if we could all understand how our brain works and the neural net program that we have, when people have those interactions and exchanges, you can see that it's because of the programs. Like there is no thing to blame if we can
Right.
all understand that about.
Exactly. Which is what I was really saying. There's nothing to blame here. There's not no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's wherever you are, or I am, or where we all are, that it's the experience we need
Mhm.
versus being told that that's we're not doing or getting what we need.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I think sometimes when I have those similar interactions with people, like I just laugh for a second because I'm like, where does that come from? Like,
Yeah.
it's just a funny
Oh, and
little
I do too. And like I do too. I think it's just like I said, it was just the long-term standing of it, not like
being said.
it was like I kept hitting the same wall with the same lesson of the action of being able to say this doesn't work for me anymore.
Well, that's
And
one
I'd
thing that
never done that, which is what's bizarre. Like I've never done it in my life.
really,
Never. That's why I'm saying I had to learn the other side of that lesson.
totally, totally,
And so she that gave me the greatest gift because she brought it home to me owning my own truth out of it.
right, yeah, and that's like a really good point that I want to talk about next. Like, I really want to create a platform to basically like I'm creating a Humans of New York thing, but not just the concept of that, but just about women, where I interview and create video portraits of women, and then you just talk about the reality that you want to experience, because that's where I feel like my
Ooh, can you do mine?
yeah, like I need to do you in person though, but like for sure,
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely feel that as a man, I think if I really am being serious about this work and not to be a label, or I just want to create something where there's a platform where women can see where other women are trying to create a new reality and a new life, and not that there's any judgments or blame. It's just like a free expression of who you are and what you are, and that I just want to be able to create a beautiful portrait. That's it. Like, and then have a place where you can talk about yourself. So I think that's an important thing for everyone to not like to really take the little things that you can experience with someone, but make them really important. And that's what I think I'm learning and really wanting to express with my gifts of like filmmaking, or at least photography and visual arts. It's like there's something really beautiful I can create with someone. So I really want to try to do that.
Yeah. So I want to bring two things full circle, and then I want to hear any final thoughts you might have for the audience. But the two things I want to bring full circle is just kind of how the concept of this was really also you being a divine masculine, having came into this harmony and balance, having stepped and moved your life into harmony and balance, and connecting with your purpose, and giving you so much praise for that, because as the whole collective masculine, more of you are doing this, but a lot of you, even feminine, are having trouble doing this, figuring out the how. And it's not the how, it's the why. Okay. But the divine masculine, they are in a place where they don't know how to process these emotions like women do that's coming through. They don't know how to do to like identify who they are from some and accept who they are, much less than step into their purpose, you know, because they got to own themselves to find the purpose, right? Like we've said, and walk that path. So in that, I just want to bring full circle that, you know, you are becoming a leading divine masculine going forward. And thank you for signing up for that mission and job to open the portal for all divine masculines to come into this balance and harmony. Because the more we all do, the more we do, the more we all do. And you're helping the divine masculine, which is helping the universal consciousness come into the masculine and feminine energy balance within all of us.
Thank you. Just like,
So,
thank you.
wow, this is amazing. So, I want to thank you, and I want to bring that full circle that this is what it's about. And I'm sure everyone can see at this point, you know, your state of balance and your state of purpose and your state of conviction and your passion for what you do. And I would like to invite anyone out there to, you know, use Billy as an example of the divine masculine that's out there, and to be lifting them up consciously and collectively, so we can help all of the divine masculines come into this place of balance and wholeness and completeness and passion and love and compassion that you guys deserve just as much as we do, so we can then all have these loving relationships that come as the byproduct of the internal unification. And, you know, just wow, I can't thank you enough. I just can't thank you enough for you being you, for connecting with me, for being on this path with me, for stepping into your purpose, and just thank you. And so much gratitude. So I also want to ask you in this, I want to hear and know how people can connect with you, how they can see your videos, see what you're doing. And then I also want to know any final messages you have for the audience, that you, anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to share, or what advice would you give them out there trying to do this? Maybe even a divine masculine's watching this. Of course, the feminine could take the same advice, but maybe a divine masculine's watching this and looking at you like wondering, how can I get there?
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for having me. And I always love talking and being on your show. And I've always learned so much from our exchanges. And yeah, I'm just really appreciative and grateful for our relationship as well.
Me too.
Um, I guess to end this, I mean, the only thing that I feel like I can share or say is that, like, what I've learned is, I think we all have a purpose here to express something, a part of us, and we've all created these limitations to experience, to overcome. And I think that's the journey that I've realized, because I think any kind of darkness that you experience now, we're supposed to experience the complete opposite. So I almost feel like the more that you suffered, your reality is going to be the complete opposite of that. And I'm only here to express myself and to know what that is for me.
Hmm.
If I can help anyone, by being an example or at least sharing my knowledge with you, I'm more than happy to do that. And you can reach me at my website's 58magazine.com, and all my videos are in there on YouTube, and they're free to watch. And
We'll
I,
put some links below too. Can you spell 58? Because I know that's the number, not the 8. Can you spell that
yeah,
out, please?
sure. 50 is spelled out, and then the number 8, and then magazine.com.
We'll put a
Uh,
link below too.
yeah. And the only thing that I've kind of kept thinking to myself that's really helped me is that, you know, that I think, I forget who said it, but I just love hearing it and saying it, is that love, um, cleanses out the evil so you can live. So
Mm.
I think the more that we can love every aspect, even the dark parts, I think it helps us to live. And that's why we're here, to live and experience life and everything that you can experience. So I think any limitations that we have is, I think, why me and Dr. Harmony are here to help you with, or at least, um, help learn what compassion or love is for yourself. And that's all that I feel like I can do and want to do. So, um, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Billy. So I just want to invite all of you to get plugged into Billy's information. He's so powerful and has so much wisdom. And again, happy Thanksgiving. And I feel like these are probably going to be broken down into a few segments and still all potentially posted here, because I feel like it's such a powerful message. I'd shared with Billy before, I just knew this message had to do with balance and bringing the divine masculine into balance internally and within the collective, and him representing the divine masculine. Wanted to share with everyone how to, how that's lot real, like this is real, that they're not just hearing this, that they can see someone doing it that helps them find inspiration in their journey for this. And so thank you all for showing up. Make sure to check out all the resources and how you can glow forward with myself. And may you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.